Hey there. Thanks so much for tuning into the Practicing Connection podcast. I'm Coral. Today's episode is all about completing an autonomy audit, which is a powerful tool for becoming what I'd like to call a manager of one. My co-host Jessica is here to guide us. Hey Jess, how are you feeling today?
Hi, Coral. I'm all right. It's been one of those weeks, though. I made this really optimistic plan, and actually every Monday I start out and I'll take a look at my calendar and I'll block off time. So this week I blocked off time to do the work. I color coded my calendar because I'm on different projects. And so it's easy for me to then at a glance see how much time I'm spending in each project. I did all of that. But the universe had some surprises for me, extra meetings that were unexpected, last minute tasks, a couple of tasks that I forgot about that I needed to deal with. And really, it just felt like the universe was conspiring against me. It's what it felt like.
Oh man, that is so relatable. Yeah, as a toddler mom and just as a general person rolling through life, it's very relatable. So, but I appreciate your honest reply for that always. Oh man, it totally is like, here's my plan. And then life throws in a plot twist or four. But I mean, honestly, just kind of getting back to the root of today's theme, that's kind of what being a manager of one is all about, right? It's finding those little places where we can take charge and shift and pivot so that things work with us the best that we can, even when it kind of feels a little bit chaotic or even a little bit out of control.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because I started out feeling totally in charge. And so those plot twists, while less interesting than some of my favorite television shows, they are incredibly real life. So yeah, exactly. That's, when things get out of control, you can get back to that feeling of at least being a little bit back in control. So
Yeah, one of my favorite things, kind of on the side, I like to do triathlons and stuff like that. But one of the best piece of advice that my college coach ever gave me was he would say, the plan is written in pencil, not in pen. And so that just kind of approach, it gives you that approach of like, oh, okay, we can, erase some stuff and kind of shift and pivot, but be flexible, but still like the overall progression is still in a forward direction. So yeah, applicable in all areas of life, apparently. And, I know that there are people listening to this episode as well that are already probably going, oh yeah, very relatable. And we always love to hear what y'all's strategies are as well. And so if there are ways that you practice autonomy or help get a little bit more of an ownership feel back in certain places in your life that may feel a little bit out of reach sometimes, we would love to hear about them. You can drop us an email to practicingconnection@oneop.org. And we do check and reply to every message. So thanks for sending those our way. All right, before we dive into today's practice, Jess, can you tell us what inspired you? And I know that you already alluded to this a little bit, but what inspired you to focus on the autonomy audit and how does it relate? And this is kind of a two-part question. How does it relate to becoming a manager of one?
Yeah, I picked this practice because I'm actually most motivated and fulfilled when I have a little bit of freedom. And it's been like this ever since I can remember. So sometimes that means freedom over my schedule. Sometimes it means freedom over how I choose to tackle problem solving or how I prioritize tasks. When I feel trusted to make choices, I get a little boost of energy. And that's kind of what the manager of one mindset is about, recognizing where we can direct our own work, even in small ways. And there's some good science behind it too. There's, studies that show that even a little more autonomy increases our motivation, our well-being, and our creativity. The autonomy audit is a really simple tool to notice and expand your agency. So when things get overwhelming, it's easy to feel boxed in or it's easy to default to autopilot. But if we can pause and ask, like, where do I still have some agency? That's being a manager of one. Those small moments of ownership can really boost our engagement and satisfaction and help us spring into action. And modeling this on a team has a ripple effect too, right? It has a positive effect on everyone around you.
Absolutely. I'm just reflecting on scenarios, working in teams and whatnot, and where this has cropped up in just notable instances. And it does have that contagious energy, like in a positive way, can help give everybody a boost around you. So I can't wait to dig into this. And so, yeah, for the practical bit, can you walk us through step by step how someone might try this?
Yeah, definitely. If you're listening and you want to join in, you can grab a notebook or open up your notes app, or you could just follow along mentally. So, the first step is listing your responsibilities. You might even already have a project list somewhere, but this is about writing down your main responsibilities. So, start with the big picture, like work, home, volunteering, or personal projects. But don't stop there. Under each of those kind of major headings, list out a few specific projects or tasks that you're currently working on. For example, in the work category, maybe you have a client presentation or a regular team meeting and updating a report, right? Maybe you've got those three projects. At home, it might be planning meals, organizing the garage, or helping kids with homework. Breaking it down this way can give you a clearer view of where your autonomy might vary from project to project. And you can also just look at one of these big buckets of responsibilities, right? You don't have to write them all down and put projects under each one of them and do this activity with all of those projects. So you can just take a look at one of those big buckets of responsibilities, like only look at your work projects or your home projects for this activity. So list your responsibilities.
That's such a great point. And I could see how this could easily kind of get overwhelming. And so I would, yeah, just focusing in on one specific area where you're maybe feeling a little bit stuck or
Mhm.
low energy, I think sounds like a great place to start. So where does it go from there?
Yep. So after you've listed some areas of responsibility, then you're going to go through and rate your autonomy. So to do that, there's a set of three questions that you can, if you want to, you can journal on them, or you can just do a gut check and think about them. So, first question is, how much control do I actually have here? The next question is, am I steering or am I mostly following directions? And then the third question is there an area I wish I had more say or flexibility? And after considering those questions, give each responsibility an autonomy rating, high, medium, or low. You don't have to spend a lot of time on this. Like I said, you can let your gut be your guide because you can always go back and dig a little deeper after. You're really looking for how much control you feel like you have right now so that you can assess whether there are any immediate wins you can get. And then the third step is choose a responsibility with a medium or low autonomy and brainstorm ways that you can get a little bit more influence. So you could brainstorm a couple of tweaks to boost your sense of ownership for that responsibility. For example, can you propose a new way of doing the task? Can you switch up your routine for one that you would prefer? Or could you take a low risk action on your own instead of waiting for approval? Right? So pick one tweak and try it this week. I didn't mean for that to rhyme. Think of it as a micro experiment. Afterwards, then you can notice, did you feel more engaged, energized, or confident?
Yeah, like a little bit of a pilot test. I like that. Jess, do you have any examples of how you've did this in your own work or personal life?
Yeah, I do. So prepping for this episode actually got me thinking about a project where I was stuck and I was waiting for feedback that never came. And it was kind of a sticky situation
Mm.
because our team was trying to move forward on something and everyone was so busy, right? And I asked for feedback and it was really difficult to get it. So I actually ended up sketching out my own plan and then I shared that with my team. It felt really risky because I like to be more collaborative than that, right? And in my head, I was not being collaborative by doing this thing on my own. But actually, it turned out that it actually got things moving. People had something to react to. They actually appreciated having a starting point and then they could build on my ideas. And so that's when I realized that I was actually practicing being a manager of one. So I was taking that initiative, not waiting for permission, and just making the first move.
That's a great example. And There's so much to be said for creating your own momentum. It can kind of have like a snowball effect too, in a positive direction. I love that example so much. It's a lot of momentum and confidence, not just for you, but also for your team as well.
Yeah, exactly. So here's our challenge if you're listening. Try an autonomy audit and take a small intentional step toward becoming a manager of one, and then notice what shifts for you. Like, do you have a little more energy or engagement, or maybe a creative spark that kind of came out of nowhere? Whether it works perfectly or surprises you or it turns into a learning moment, share your story with us. We'd love to learn from your experience.
Well, this was a great one for sure. And this is a wrap for today's episode. Thanks, Jess, so much for sharing this practice with us. And thank you all for joining our conversation today on becoming a manager of one. If you found value in our conversation today, please share this episode with a friend, and we'll be back next week with something new. Until then, keep practicing.
The Practicing Connection podcast is a production of OneOp and is supported by the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, U.S. Department of Agriculture, and the Office of Military Family Readiness Policy, U.S. Department of Defense, under award number 2023-48770-41333.